In. Let's see. All right, man, and we're live. All right, cool beans. Got the goat in here, man. Alex, what's going on, man? Yeah, it's funny, but you are the goat, man. You really been doing this the longest. If we look at YouTube, if we look at the Hot Shot game, everybody's gonna reference you. Everybody freaking calls me and they're like, "Yo, man, what do you think about Alex? What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" It's always Alex, Alex, Alex with the Hot Shot stuff,
Oh yeah,
dude.
that's
So,
too kind, man.
but
I would say that's probably like one of the biggest differences between me and a lot of others is that it's almost like it goes hand in hand, right? It's like people get into hotshot and they start a YouTube channel right away.
right,
And I don't like. I've talked about my story several times. Like I started hotshotting in 2015, and I think when you pull up my channel, I started my channel in 2017.
yeah,
2 years after I've already been working in the hotshot business. 2 years after, and I think
right,
I only started uploading videos consistently in 2018. So it's like I was doing hotshot for 3 years before I uploaded a single video.
right.
So and a lot of the newer guys, it's like I don't know if you saw this one channel. He like chained down through the rim of a vehicle.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, probably. I mean, who
So he
knows,
ran
man?
a chain
We
through
see
the
some
rim,
crazy stuff. Funny
right? And
side
so
note, man, is like when you were, I didn't even know who you were when I started Hotshot. I had no idea. But I was riding in the truck with my buddy at the time when we just started. And I was like, dude, we should do a YouTube channel, just talk shit, it'd be funny. And he was like, that would be funny, but nobody would watch it. And I was like, yeah, well, that was the end of my YouTube career. I didn't do anything, bro. So you had a good 4 or 5 year jump. Because if you really do, like you said, go to your YouTube channel, look at the videos, they're way back, man. Like you started, like you've been doing it a long time. You've been grinding
right,
that thing out. So when people
right,
are like, "Oh, he's
and
an overnight success. He's huge." No, you've been grinding that thing out, man. Like putting in the work.
right. People don't understand. They're like, "Oh, Alex, how are you so comfortable in front of the camera?" Like, "Oh, I'm nervous. I could never upload." People forget that for the first 5,000 subscribers, first
Yeah,
5,000, I didn't even show my face because I was so nervous.
right. And
I
I was
just
the
did
same way when I
voiceover.
started. You can tell if you go look at my first videos to now, it was like, and I was like, you could tell that shyness, or like I'd be like, oh man, or real timid. And now I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like that takes, I don't know, what would you say, hundreds of videos to get used to where you just don't care anymore if you got a booger on your
Yeah,
nose. You're just like,
yeah.
oh yeah, whatever. In the
I mean, it's a
beginning, though,
solid 20, 30, 40, 50 videos. Like you got to get those reps in. There's no shortcut to being comfortable with like who you are as a person on camera, how
yeah,
you look, how you talk, how like you're a unique individual, and how you say certain things is gonna be different, and it's not gonna look like how some of the people that you watch, and that's totally okay. So it takes a while to get used to that.
yeah,
But the
absolutely.
channel is one thing, obviously, but really it's the hotshot thing. Is like you said, GOAT, which is
Yeah,
this acronym for greatest of all time. I
right.
definitely wouldn't go that far. No, not even
Why
anywhere
not?
near there.
I would definitely say that no matter what anybody says, just because you've been on here exposing people to Hot Shot, and to whoever you might have either it really increased the light on the industry, or you could have really like blown up the industry, and people looking at it and wanting to get into it, change people's lives. A lot of lives were changed, people trying to get into it, or you could have ruined the industry for, oh, there's too many people in it. Who knows? Like but there's so much that came from your content, and anybody that knows Hot Shot is going to reference your name. So that's
Right.
definitely
And
got to be. It's got
non-CDL
to,
hotshot. Yeah,
well,
non-CDL
even not
hotshot.
even just non-CDO, because who else is out there that's as big as you with a CDO hot shot? You know what I mean? Like it's hot shot in general. I mean, in my opinion, that you've
Right.
been doing it, and that
Yeah.
really laid over to I think it really changed the game. It made a lot of people have eyeballs on it, because who was doing it before you? Who was doing YouTube? They're not around anymore, for hot shot, or who's even talking about it. I don't even remember
For
anybody
trucking,
for no hot shot specifically.
for hotshot,
I
a
remember like
couple
one guy
channels.
that was bald, and he's not
Uh,
there no more.
so there's that channel. He's not doing it anymore. How to hotshot.
Okay, I
You
don't
know,
remember that one.
so he was way before me.
Yeah.
There's PD Diesel Power. He's way
Okay. Yeah.
before me. And I think there's like it's a small group. There's
Right.
like like three,
But
maybe
none
four.
of
I'd
them
have to really
stayed
search.
consistent with it. None of them blew it up to the level that you did. So I mean, how do you not be the GOAT, the LeBron of the whole thing if you not, reach that
Right.
plateau, right? Like, I mean, I've been doing this shit for years. We have a huge fleet, and I'm not that big on YouTube, and I don't have the following, so it's got to be that way. But
Right.
anyway,
Right.
one thing I don't know if you talked about this in some of your videos. People who follow you, I mean, obviously, I know some of the content, but how the hell did you ever get into hot shot trucking? Like, who was Alex before hot shot, and why did you pick trucking or HotShot? What the hell was that?
Oh, I mean, I started as a company driver, dude. I
Yeah,
didn't do, yeah,
for a
like,
company, but why that? Why did you like? I'm gonna go drive for this company in HotShot.
so I was actually just looking for work. Like, I know right now there's like a super big shortage of like employees and whatnot, and like, there's more jobs than workers or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
but like in 2014, 15, it wasn't that. And so
Yeah.
it's like I just quit my job selling solar panels and I moved. And so then I was trying to find something. Well, in the area that I moved to, there wasn't solar panels, and so and then I had my insurance license before that, but I didn't want to go back and sell insurance because when I had an interview for an insurance sales job, they said, "Hey, we can offer you a $36,000 a year." And I was like, "Hold on, I just had my job where I was making 60 grand a year. I'm not
Right.
taking a sales job for 35 grand. Like that's ridiculous."
Yeah.
And so I was just sitting there like looking for work, thinking about what I could do, and then I stumbled across a non CDL or no CDL like driving job, right? And it was
Mhm.
HotShot. So I took the job and I did good at it, excelled at it, and then I was like, well, I could probably get my own truck. So then I did. And so that's
Right.
when I became an owner operator.
Bam. Now, you did that before you got your truck. You'd already been doing the company thing for like what, a year or two?
No, I was a company driver for like 5 months. That's it.
Okay. And then you went straight into Topig and just did your own deal.
No. So then I went and I actually was a dispatcher first. So I was
Mhm.
dispatching other trucks, and the office the company I was like leasing my truck under.
Right.
They needed a dispatcher, and so I took the job as a dispatcher instead of actually being out on the road as an owner operator. And
Nice.
then from there, I realized like, hey, you can't make much money as a dispatcher, so I ended up then hitting the road. So about 1 year later, so I started in like the summer of 2015. And about the summer of 2016, I actually hit the road as a leased on owner operator.
Okay. Cool. So that's how he got into it there. Right there it is,
Right.
man. Yeah.
Right.
It's just crazy to go from solar panels to hotshot trucking, but that's how it happened with me too. I was in construction, had nothing to do with trucking, and then I worked on somebody's house that had a hotshot, and they're like, I'm crying the blues in the wintertime because it's slow construction, roofing and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you got this dually, why don't you do hotshot? I'm like what you do? And then he was like, yeah, like what I do. Just here's how you do it. I was like, oh, all right, I'll check it out. you know,
Right.
it's random.
But
It's just totally random.
I want to talk about the thing you mentioned earlier, which is like too many people got into the business because of it, right? Or no, you said
I said it
on
could
one
have
hand
been
it's
or
good,
helped a lot of people or vice versa.
right? So both, right? It could have helped or it could have hurt, right?
Nobody knows.
So
Yeah.
okay, so keep in mind that like could have helped. Like I certainly like getting those emails and calls of people
Right.
that were saying like, "Hey Alex, I watched your videos. You helped me. Like it's been super awesome. I passed my first clean inspection." Like I love getting those emails. Like
Right.
this, like that's definitely one of the reasons I certainly like uploading like educational videos, and I try to upload them somewhat often. Like when I was doing it more like all the time, those videos always like those emails and calls and texts always encouraged me. So that's nice. So I know there was some of that, but as for hurt. Dude, Hotshot really only became popular probably in the last year or so.
You think
Like
so?
really popular.
Like, yeah,
Bro,
I mean,
like
yeah,
if
it's
you look at my
definitely
channel, the
become
growth of my channel numbers,
oversaturated for sure now. But it's not that, and that hasn't been just you. It's everybody is a freaking coach now, and it's the easiest barrier to entry because you don't have to have a CDL to get a truck, which you have to get a semi. You don't have to put up a bunch of money, which you have to do to get a semi. You have a plan where you're going to put it, where you're going to lease it on with, all that. They don't care. You hop in, buy a truck, or rent a truck with Enterprise or whatever, and go straight to work, and it's super easy. So that,
right? But like if you actually look at the numbers, right? It's like this past year, right? Freight Waves in the beginning of March did a video, and I shared it on my channel. They did a video that on average, usually it's 10,000 trucking companies get their authority every month. 10,000.
mhm.
For the year of 2021 March to 2022 March, it was 20,000 a month.
That's insane. Well, I think
So
COVID had
double
something to
the
do with that
average.
too, because people were, everybody's, talking about the coaches, and they even say it to me like, oh, you're getting all these people coming in the industry, it's fucking up the industry. I don't think that is the case. I think we're trying to give out good information and help people, and then people are, you're a big boy, you got to do your own thing, but if you could find Alex or good information on there like that, or from us or whatever, you're going to do well, and if you learn, you're going to do well. But I think COVID had a lot to do with it, man, in my personal opinion, because people got fired or got laid off or whatever. They're like, well, fuck this. I don't ever want to be in this situation again. I would rather, go start my own thing. What can I do? And then it was like, oh, I could do Hot Shot because they were watching some YouTube thing or who knows who it came from? It could have came from a number of people, you know?
Well, hold on. It could have been trucking too. Like it's not just HotShot. It's not
Right.
like that increase was HotShot, right? We don't know exact numbers, but like given what the ratios normally are, it's like I would say probably 80% of it was trucking companies and 20% was HotShot. Like I have no doubt in my mind. But keep in mind that only in 2022, the February of this year,
Right.
did the CDL class requirement go into effect.
Right. And
So
it's just
last
because of the
year,
major
what
claims and stuff
what
too.
what made it even like better, or like what last year did was like on top of the fact that people are laid off coming out of COVID, they want jobs where they're independent most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
so they're sitting in a truck, not getting like they're not catching COVID, and on top of that, they can travel and see. And CDL schooling was not required, so they could go in
Right.
there and get their own CDL.
So it
And
had
then
a
all
lot
of
of appeasability to it, especially that's one of the things that actually drew me to it was traveling the country. Not so much the job. And that's why I closed up my business. Man, I love going and all, California, I'll be there every other week or Oregon or whatever. And
right.
that's what this guy says. The Streetline Express says, I think YouTube flooded it bad over the past few years. I don't know, man. I don't know if YouTube did it or not. I think it's just people found a niche, found an industry, and jumped in. And there's a lot of reasons. YouTube and guys like me and Alex are not the bad side of it. But there's guys out there like Alex Burton or whatever with that Good Energy Worldwide. He's probably got the biggest platform, but he was funded by that ET hip hop preacher guy and stuff. But they just didn't even try to entice people in. It was all about become a dispatcher tomorrow with $500. And that definitely overflooded the dispatching side of it. I guarantee it, and set up a lot of really crappy dispatchers and dispatch services. That definitely made problems for the industry. But there's good dispatchers out there. So,
right, but keep in mind the supply and demand is a very simple thing, right? And it's
right.
like at the end of the day, when COVID happened, like when we were in 2021 and we're getting out of COVID, there's all those other variants that are, whatever. Supposedly, the country wasn't opened up back up to full capacity, and it's like, well, we still need more trucks. We need more trucks. There's no one wants to haul these loads, and so it's like at the end of the day, it's also like your brother, uncle, sister, father, whatever. He says, bro, you should go get a semi truck, man. The loads are paying insane right now.
Right. And
right. It's not like YouTube all of a sudden. It's like, no, like at the end of the day, there's people on the ground that were truck drivers and they told their uncles and brothers, hey, dude, go jump in this truck with me. Their loads are paying crazy right now.
Yep. And they looked at it as a get rich quick thing right now, and it's always been up and down. There's been big highs in trucking for 30 years. It's nothing new, and there's big, really down lows like there is right now. And that's cyclical like anything. The economy, the stock market, the '08 crash, everything that ever happened. Trucking has seen all of that from every aspect. If you talk to the guys, because one of the number one things consultant people or clients ask me is like, how do I blow up? How do I get big? How do I get big? And I'm like, I've been in these rooms with these guys that have 500 trucks or 1,000 trucks. And I ask every one of them, what would you tell a young man how to get to your level? And they all tell me the exact same thing. And it's what nobody wants to hear. It takes time. It just takes time. You're never going to, there's no cheat code. There's no, blow up to 500 trucks tomorrow. That doesn't happen. You get to 500 trucks by being in business for 40 years. You know what I mean? Like you get to be JB Hunt by being 100-year company, or something like that. That's what it takes, And nobody wants to hear that. They think there's some thing on YouTube, some trick we can tell them to just make $1 million and skip changing the brakes and checking the bearings, skip that part because that's not the fun part,
Right. Yeah. And like a lot of other creators talk about, like I think Gary Vee mentioned it too. It's like, man, like people that want a shortcut in creating content. It's like, there's no shortcuts in having a big social media following. You have to upload the nitty gritty content. You got to sit there and you got to edit for hours on end. You got to go record. You got to invest in equipment. Right. So it's like, there are no shortcuts, whether it's the gym too. It's like, don't eat dessert. Don't eat sweets, work out 3 times a week. It's like, bro, there is no secret. And certainly it does seem to be like, it's an interesting issue how now it's definitely more abundant. Like people just want a quick shortcut, that like quick hit and that's it. It's like, well, that's not how business works. That's not how any of that works. So,
and that's what even Gary Vee says. And I love that we follow a lot of the same people as far as influence. And that's really cool. We have that in common. But Gary Vee's like, look, we're trained, like, whether it's Hollywood or social or whoever, the media giants put in this thing that our life is supposed to be like a movie, these big epic climaxes and downs and all that. And that's not the way it's supposed to be in real life. And we're so used to that. We're almost programmed to think like that, like love and marriage and life and kids and life. It's always supposed to be we win and we're rich and everything. No, you got to put in the work every freaking day and show up like you just said and go to the gym to get buff. Stop eating like crap, or whatever. Same thing with
right. And
trucking,
a good
business.
A good quote is great is just good over time.
Yep, exactly. That's really good.
Good over time equals great. It's like, that's such a good, like, oh my goodness. So if you just show up every day and you take care of your truck and you build the business slowly and you have a good training program and you're reinvesting in that stuff slowly but surely, you'll build it out and you'll get there. And not to mention, quick growth is what gets you where I ended up, where you just get a quote of a premium insurance.
Quick growth has almost put me out of business 10 times. I've almost went out of business. Everybody thinks that you did it by choice, not necessarily by having to. You're like, I'm gonna make a different strategic move, but I've almost had to. Like tomorrow, screwed, we're bankrupt tomorrow. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I had to strategically make a change. I was forced to or go out of business, and and you have to do that, and it's quick growth. And every time I've ever tried to be faster, and as you get older and you get bigger in business and you build a business acumen, you're like, the fast way, or I had no choice, or I have to, is always the wrong way. You have to just do it slowly, and it sucks because that's not what anybody wants to hear. Everybody wants 100 trucks tomorrow because I want to get rich, get rich, get rich, get rich, get rich, and And that's what Gary Vee even says this all the time. A lot of these guys do. Grant Cardone does. All these guys I follow, and they're like, you guys are in love with the Lamborghini. Who wouldn't? Everybody wants the private jet. Everybody wants that. But the reason why we're successful, Grant and Gary Vee knows, is because we don't care about that shit. We love the hustle, the journey, the actual work. That's what we fell in love with. Not the Lamborghini and the jet and money and all that. We could care less. You could take it off from us tomorrow. What we love is the work. That's what we love. The go out and get it in the grind,
Right.
And most people don't love that. Some days I don't.
That's true. And so that's why it's like, man, when thinking about going into business, whether it's trucking or any business for that matter, it's like the first thing needs to be like, hey, here's some of the things that I'll be doing on a day-to-day basis, running and managing this business. Are those things something that I like doing? And certainly like we started talking about the channel and whatnot. Certainly over the years, I realized dude, don't be wrong. I didn't like trucking, but I like HotShot. So I stayed in HotShot, right? That's what a lot of people ask all the time. Like, oh, Alex, why don't you get a semi? Why don't you get Class 8? It's like, I was just not interested in those. I didn't have a passion or an enthusiasm for trucking, for Class 8 vehicles. I really just liked HotShot, so I stick with it, right? Maybe towards the end, I saw the freight slow down, and I did get that one semi, but that was a pivot out of necessity. Or that was
we've had that conversation for years. Like, we've been on the phone several times over the years. Hey, man, why don't you get into trucks? Why don't you get your CDL? Like, I just don't want to do it right now. And I'd be like, man, you're crazy. And you're like, I'm just going to keep doing me. And it worked out for you, and you were doing great, And we would argue about the enterprise thing and how it wasn't working because I did it. And you're like, it works for me perfect. So what works for one doesn't work for the other one,
Right. And so, but over the years, it's like I've realized, from uploading videos all the time, getting good at managing content, getting good at building out, like at the end of the day, I built out a team of 6 dispatchers that booked, 20 trucks on average every month. It's like, hold on. Like that's a good team building exercise. That's good management skills. That's good process, coordination or building or whatever. So it's like, there's a lot of skills that I learned. And one of those that I really liked is I really like editing now, like sitting down, editing videos and stuff. It's a lot of fun, So, I'm super grateful for trucking because at the end of the day, it led me to the place where I'm at now, And so it's like,
I would say that's one of the things the reason why I think you're a GOAT, man. And if people don't really know that, it's like you went in and you built web. I mean, this guy's a G, guys. Really, he really is. He has the acumen to go in there and learn how to code and build websites, learn how to blueprint this stuff.
Well, I can't code. I can't code, but I can build website using tools.
Well, you built the freaking, even building like a legit Airtable and stuff. Like that stuff's not easy. Not the average person can't just do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it sounds easy, but I've done the stuff, so I know. I'm in there. Like, my wife has a degree, and I'm like, come in here and help me do this. You know what I mean? Like I can't even figure it out all the time. Or even the YouTube, like we were just before we got on, we were looking at some videos and stuff, and it's like the analytics and the background and what goes into really being successful online is so much more than just, hey, look at me on a video and posting it. That's not getting the job done to get to his level,
Right. So, you got to put in the work no matter what you choose to do, and so you might as well pick something that's fun and enjoyable to you. right?
Right.
And so it's like, and for those 5, 6 years that I was in HotShot, man, that was the most enjoyable thing. When I was on the road, it was a grind, it was work, but
Mm-hmm.
like we said, like I got to see some concerts while I was on the road doing a restart. You got to see the country. It's great. Trucking is really great, and so that it is enticing to a lot of people. So I mean, you can't blame. For an industry that does whatever $80 billion or whatever it is, like you can't blame it on one creator, one
Right.
YouTuber that has some measly
Right.
40, 50,
No, there's so
60,000
much bad
subscribers.
information out there. It's crazy, man. And
That
for
too.
anybody, it's not. I mean, not even that. Like, it ain't even the bad information. It's people that get into it and they're not looking at good or bad information. They just don't care. They're trying to wing it and figure it out. Like I did. I wasn't looking. I mean, I eventually found people like you and whoever and learned and stuff. But some people just
Right.
get in and they're just like, screw it. I don't. How many straps does it need? Put 2. It's fine. Go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so that's just human nature, man. That people are
Right.
getting in. It has nothing to do with bad creators, and everybody blames it on YouTube or whatever. But let's get
Right.
on to the next topic, man. How do you think
Yeah.
we're doing as an industry right now? I know you're like, man, I'm out of truck and I'm moving on with bigger, better things. Might come back at some point. We've talked about it, but where do you think we're at right now as an industry? What's the
I mean,
pulse?
dude, so I don't have a ton of expertise in this, like where we're at, but I mean, it's funny because I was talking to somebody else about deregulation, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, from the 70s or whatever, 60s,
Mm-hmm.
70s, right? Deregulation, where they made it, they lowered the barrier to entry for more
Right.
people to get into trucking, which I'm really happy for deregulation, because that in turn is what made like our products show up at stores at a much more reasonable price.
Right. I'm all for deregulation. A lot of industries are overregulated.
Right. But slowly they started to put regulation back in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, hours of service, ELD, and now like a whole bunch of stuff, right? Now it's like now there's the drug consortium, the clearinghouse, the like all these other, like a bunch of things that you are as a carrier have to do. And so now I feel like we are getting to a stage where trucking is very, very heavily regulated, and inevitably what's going to happen is only the big people will stay in.
Yeah.
And then
And
once the
well,
big people stay in,
the
they're going to
big
be able to
people
control
are
price.
the big people are what do they call it?
Mega
Not
carriers.
campaigning. Yeah, they're campaigning for it. I don't not
Oh,
campaigning,
right.
but they're a proponent of they're
Lobbying.
up lobbying. They're up there lobbying, Swift and Knight and all and they're merging and they're buying. They're talking about guys that are billion-dollar players, and we're just in their way. They're like the small
Right.
carriers like me and you, not even guys that are 500 trucks, 1,000 trucks. We're in their way. And they're up there
Right.
lobbying, ELDs, this, that, blah, 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 more drug tests. Now they're lobbying hair follicle and all this other stuff, you know what I mean? And it's going to continue to add crap for my job that makes it almost where it's like, I don't make enough money to deal with all this crap and have all of the
Right.
responsibility, 100% of the responsibility for everything. If somebody gets hurt, accident, whatever. And then I have to recruiting and marketing. And it's like so much that goes into it. It's almost at a certain point going to become not worth it,
Right.
to
And so
compete because you can't.
Right, exactly. And so because it's going to get more and more difficult to compete, it's like then inevitably what's going to happen is just only the big players are going to be left. And then from there, it's not even that far for, semi trucks with driver assistance features, right?
Mhm.
Some lane keep assist first. They're going to start keeping those miles. And then over there, it's just going to be autonomous trucks. And I've been looking into autonomous trucks, man. It's like, I don't know how close it is, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised as within the next 10 years, there's going to be a ton of autonomous trucks on the road.
The big dogs are saying it's 20 years off. I think it's closer. I think that they don't realize that they're one thing away from just putting it together, making what happened. Like Uber. They're like, oh, that ain't gonna work. Nobody's gonna get in somebody else's car. And then all these college kids were like, I don't give a shit. Come pick me up. I'm drunk. Or whatever.
Right.
Like those type of businesses, and it's eventually just gonna click. Like my wife was telling me there's an influencer now because we're always laughing about she's just piled up with all the things to do around here. And she's like, laundry, there's a service. You can put it on your doorstep. They'll come pick it up and take it and wash it, fold it, bring it back for $50 or whatever. And I'm like, why didn't we invent that? That is the smartest thing I've ever heard of in my life. And I'm like, that it's companies like that nobody sees coming. And it's just like, boom, then washer and dryers are obsolete. Everybody I think
Right.
we're all rolling that way anyway. And why would it not be in trucks? Because the biggest problem in trucking is the driver. A lot of times it's the driver because even when a fleet my size, I have some grinders that are awesome. I never hear from them. They just get the job done. They don't complain. And then I have guys who are like, I don't want to tarp today. It's hot. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to Oregon. I don't want to go to, New York. I don't want to go here. And they have a list of I don't want to do's. And I say this all the time, like your list of I don't want to, especially when new guys call me, like, I don't do this. I don't run in the north. I don't go in the winter. I don't go here. I don't do that. And they just start telling me everything they don't do. And I'm like, apparently you've never done an interview before, because that's not how you get a job, is tell me all the things that you're not going to do. Where's the customer service in there? All like your list is just thing. Now tell me some shit that you do and give me a reason to want to have you come on,
Right. Yeah. Like Gary Vee talks about this laundry example, like convenience is king. Convenience is king. So, and I think
what's he say? He says like they said what's the one he's used? He's like streaming, or because I want to go to the Blockbuster because I enjoy serendipity of meeting my neighbor or whatever. He's like, no, I like to watch it in my underwear and eat popcorn on my bed. I don't want to meet my neighbor, and that's
right.
That's where we're headed.
Convenience is king, and I think in the very short future, it will be more convenient to have a self-driving truck than a driver. It will be more convenient. Like in the super small timeline, as in like, hey, where are we? It's like, hey, we're at a stage where the fuel prices, the rates that are that shippers are paying, maybe the political environment is not super awesome for a trucking company right now, but there's highs and lows in every business. So this is why it comes back down to whether it's like, if you like trucking, you'll get through the lows and then you'll really enjoy the highs. But if you don't like it, then it might be a good time to call it quits and go do something else instead. But really, I'm a huge proponent of like doing what you thoroughly enjoy. If you thoroughly enjoy it, you'll get through whatever the season is. But in the short term, it's not a super great season for trucking right now. If you are trying to get in, make sure you got some money saved up and you maybe have a better business approach, better business plan, or you got customers already at your door, something along those lines. But if you are thinking about getting into trucking, like in the next couple of years, it's like, I don't know, we're going into a more higher technology approach. So there might be no need for, there's always going to be a need for drivers, because at the end of the day, it's going to be scary, but to have an 80,000 pound vehicle with no driver, but it's like, that is the future inevitably.
Yeah. This guy said the first self-driving truck that kills somebody, all will be put out of service. How is that when guys driving trucks, my opinion, kill every day? So if you have a robot that's going to kill less, or one, they like, when you look at it from this standpoint, the FMCSA or whoever is going to be like, okay, robots kill 10 and people kill 100. They're going to be like, let's go with 10, because it's just body counts, and they don't care. They don't have an emotional attachment to one human. They look at stuff in algorithms and spreadsheets. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the way I see it. And like Tesla, Tesla kind of started pissing off some of the giants because he had a lot of accidents with that autopilot. They killed people, you just never heard about them. And because it was all swept under the rug. And now because he said some things or came out, politically or whatever, they're putting all that shit out there now and letting it kind of fly, I think. And that's been happening. So
right. But yeah, dude, but think about it when a Tesla semi drops, bro. Think about how many miles they have mapped and trained and all this stuff. Think about how
I would buy one right now if I've even thought about it. I think I hate the idea of electric because I love just, I'm a car guy. I love muscle cars and stuff. I hate the idea of it, and I love old school cool Peterbilts and stuff. But as a business standpoint, it's the smartest thing you can do. It's like a crazy, what is it, like an 800 million mile warranty. They can go up a hill at like 60% more power than a conventional truck. For local or for 500-mile radius or something like that, if you had your own charging I'd buy 10 of them right now.
What about IFTA?
Yeah, see, same thing. You don't have I don't know how that works. How does that's a whole, they haven't even figured that out. Nobody's said anything yet.
I don't know. So maybe the industry people that get the Tesla trucks first, they could take advantage of never having to pay IFTA.
Yeah, I don't know. You still have to pay it because they only give you pay it to drive over the roads, but you'd get a discount based on the fuel you have. So you'd really just get screwed. But you're saving. I don't know. How does that work with charging? Because you buy charging. Are they giving you a discount for charging in their state?
I don't know.
That's a good. Hey, I'm glad you brought that up. There we go. What the hell are we going to do about IFTA with electric trucks? I hate IFTA. I hate the whole effing concept of IFTA. I hate that this stuff is not all federally under one thing, and that each state can, we have this law. Like you were talking about it with the axles and with Danny when the trailer on Florida and Texas and all that stuff having the axle kingpin law, that's so fucking stupid. Some of these laws just need to be like uniform, and you know, nobody understands that law. I talk to people all the time, like, I don't know, it's like from the kingpin to the front width to the back. I don't know. You know what I mean? Spread, not spread, which state overweight, I don't know. You got to spread it. You can only do this, you can do that. So I mean, I've studied it a lot, and I kind of understand 70% understand it. But there's just every state is different. I even asked my DOT officer, but I'm like, hey, what is this? He's like, well, I know some states and the one I worked in, you know. Where do you think the money is in the industry, dude? That was my next thing, and we kind of speed it along a little bit. Where do you think the money is in the industry from Alex's standpoint?
I mean, that's tough because like trucking is a necessity. So really, I mean, it's just going to be managing costs, right? So it's like there's money in trucking for sure, but you really aggressively have to manage costs. And that's one of the things that I can admit that I didn't do super well. I didn't manage costs very well. But so if you're the type of person that like likes trucking and you absolutely thoroughly enjoy managing your costs, like, dude, like you will succeed in trucking, right? And so especially if you just take the, take the good paying loads and you can manage your expenses and you can increase your margins, like, dude, that's all fantastic stuff. But again, the issue is that they're raising slowly, whether it's through legislation or price of equipment, they're raising the barrier to entry for trucking in general higher and higher and higher. And that's inevitably going to make it like that's going to reduce the competition. And anytime competition is reduced, the consumers get a worse product.
Exactly,
right?
100%. Whenever you don't have a free market or free market, you know, competition, then it relays over, and now you're paying $20 for a freaking, you know, bag of sugar or whatever, a gallon of milk. You know, you're exactly right. And then like the conglomerates control the cost. It's the same thing like back in the day. If you watch The Men Who Built America, it's like when, you know, the concepts are changing. They have to change at some point because we have technology's moving at a faster rate than it ever has. You know, we're going in to what used to take 10 years, we're jumping in 2 or 3 now. And it's like back then, you know, when Rockefeller was moving his oil, the railroad controlled it. It's like, if you're going to move it through us, we're going to make the majority of the money because we have all the power. And he's like, well, screw that. I'm going to put a pipe in the ground and pipe it. And I'm always like just fascinated by people. Like if you were to look over and tell your wife back then, I'm going to put 2 metal rails on the ground all the way from the east to the west and put a train car on it, they'd have been like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. Good luck with that, crazy. Same thing with oil. When the Rockefeller, I'm gonna put a pipe in the ground and pipe it to wherever I want it from the refinery. They're probably like, yeah, this guy's a nutcase, you know. So it's the same thing. Like we're gonna have self-driving trucks, you know, or whatever. Yeah, you're a nutcase until they're everywhere, you know, and they figure it out.
Right, and it's going to start with something like I just watched the video about it. So one option is 2 trucks drive together. So the truck in the front is the leader, the truck in the back is the follower, right? And so they'll have the driver driving the truck in the front and the driver in the back sleeping. So the second truck, the driver is sleeping. Right. And so, but 2 trucks are moving.
Right. So that's a crazy
so
concept.
Asian My Show just had a video about it. Okay. Literally a company that has 300 trucks. They started looking into this. So first truck is driving with the driver. Second truck, he's sleeping and he's just driving.
Yeah, I understand. Right? The concept's awesome.
But then what happens
is that guy that has his eyes on the road while that one's just following, you know?
Right. So then what happens is 11 hours is up. They pull over. They switch.
But you're carrying
this driver now
trucks.
But that
you could actually do that in 3 or 4 for a train car type of setup, you know.
That's what I think it's called. It's like a train car or something along those lines. But yeah, essentially that's how it would work. Now your 2 loads are moving 24 hours.
Yeah.
So that's option 1. Option 2 is like, you know, more truck drivers will become local drivers. So they'll just automate the long haul. So from like a factory, from warehouse to warehouse, they'll like 700 miles overnight. And so imagine you could put a trailer into the spot where the truck can back in and get connected, or you just connect the truck and you hit the button and it's good to go, right? So then the truck drives overnight and delivers the next day, and then the local guy just delivers it.
And that's what I've told people. People are like, that'll never work getting into the boroughs in New York, whatever. I'm like, no, what's going to happen is they're going to build their infrastructure like the Amazon warehouses right next to the interstate. In fact, they'll have probably an exit where it'll pull in and go right inside the warehouse, get picked off or whatever and go off and park itself in a parking lot, and then a local guy will come take it from right there. But there'll be these warehouses all over the interstates where and they're like, well, they won't be able to go downtown and drive with regular people. They won't have to drive in cities. They'll drive just on the highways, and that's easy, straight line stuff, you know. Now it might not work, you know, in Colorado and in the mountains in Montana in the wintertime and stuff like that. But for most of our you know, infrastructure in our bigger cities, you know, it's probably going to do fine, especially in the South. You know,
dude, look up one of the most popular trucking roads in America. Do you know what it is?
I'm going to assume I-40, maybe
exactly right. I-40.
Yeah.
I-40 is the most popular.
And
is there snow?
90%, it's almost never. It's like almost always perfect. Like 90% of the time, it's cleared. It has infrastructure, so you go through major cities that keep it clean, keep it plowed, keep it salted, keep it whatever, and traffic doesn't really stop. Maybe 1 or 2 days a year they have a crazy ice storm that they can't, you know, rainy ice, and they have to slow down, but that's about it.
Right. But if that's the most popular route, then you're going to start with those routes first, right?
Exactly.
And because those roads are usually better maintained, because they are popular, because those roads are usually have better lines, because the way weather is like allows it to that for that to take place. It's like those are going to be the routes that are going to go first.
So they'll start, and there's tons of open places out there where they can put those big distribution centers to pull into, you know, and bam, right there, you know, it's going to be. And I mean, they already have it dialed in where they can drive off the road and get back in the back roads to the Amazon facilities and stuff. So, you know, Walmart already ordered a bunch of self-driving trucks. If people that are watching this haven't been, Walmart, Amazon, they're already buying them. I think Walmart put in an order of the Teslas, like a couple hundred of them already, you know. And I don't know if the Tesla has an autopilot feature. I think it does, doesn't it?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it
thought
that would be surprising.
Some capacity, I think it does have some sort of. I mean, we'll find out here very soon because they're about to start releasing the production in early 23. People are already putting their deposit on them and stuff.
Right. So to answer the question is like, where's the money in trucking? It's like, it's one of two options. Either it's going to be a high technology approach, and so you might have to be good at technology and at trucking, or it's going to be a managing cost approach. That's really your two options in trucking. Like if you're good at managing costs, fine, go run a diesel. If you can do maintenance, great, do your own maintenance. Like you're going to have to figure out a way how you can manage costs and expenses better than the next company.
Yeah.
And then when you're hauling the same loads at 260, you're profiting $1, whereas the next guy would be only making 20, 30 cents. Right. And that doesn't mean you should then give the customers immediately a discount. No, it's just like you want to make sure you manage costs to a point where you're still profitable even at the floor.
Do you think it's a good time to get in right now, or no? You tell people like, no, I wouldn't. I would stay away right now.
I coming into the winter, I guess it would depend what you're pulling, you know. Because I mean, we're in September now, and so I mean, we got Black Friday coming up, we got Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I mean, if you're saying, hey, I used to do an Amazon run and I want to get back into Amazon and like whatever, it's like, okay, that might be a good option, right? But it like the current season is a more difficult season, and so you want to make sure you're good at managing expenses and costs. So it's like if you can get a really good deal on a truck or something, or you have cash. And you want to spend the cash, or maybe you have a ginormous tax bill that you have to pay and you got to spend it on something, fine. Yeah, then maybe get into it. But that's not most people, right? So most people are, you know, maybe sick and tired and fed up of their job. It's like, well, then another way you could, instead of maybe you say, Alex, well, I can't manage costs. Okay, well, then another way might be to run team. If you and your spouse or you and your significant other can run team, well, then you're making double the amount of money that a normal truck would make, right? And so if you can put into maybe you get into a truck program that doesn't penalize you for doing more miles, your truck payment stays the same, but you can do more miles, like then that might be something. So it's like you either have to manage costs or you have to really seize an advantage to generate way more revenue on the same truck. And maybe for a short time, a couple could run team and they could gross, instead of the average 250,000, like a trucking company, single truck grosses 250,000, they go out there and make 450. Well, if you're making 450,000,
you basically turn one truck into two trucks. You can even do it with non-CDL HotShot. You just got to have a sleeper, you know?
Right. So correct, right? But so the point remains the same, that like, you know, it's gonna require some effort, and you're gonna have to find out what your advantage is and take advantage of that advantage. Like I know that's a silly saying, but you want to take advantage of whatever your advantage is. Take advantage of that.
No, it's true. Like you have to double down at what you're good at and just niche it out and get really good at that one thing. I have a buddy that has a company, and when I met him, he was really successful. He's driving a $400,000 car, and I was like, man, you know, it was a I don't know. I rode around with him on Instagram. I can't remember the name of it now. Oh, Bentley Flying Spur, which is like the equivalent of Rolls Royce, Wraith or whatever. And I was like,
Right.
how do you've only been doing trucking like 3 or 4 years. How are you so successful with this? He's like, I got like 50 trucks. I'm like, yeah, so do I, but I'm not driving a fucking $400,000 car. And he's like, well, I only hire teams. So it's like I have 100 and something trucks. And I was like, oh, that's super smart. You only have every truck is teams. He's like, yeah, every truck is teams. But he was a foreigner dude from Uzbekistan. He's like, everybody, I bring a lot of guys over, I hire a lot of foreigners. They're willing to do it. He's like, where a lot of Americans and stuff aren't willing to team or live in the truck together. I'm like, that makes sense. That's crazy. That was the first time I ever heard that, like you're talking about now. And I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, yeah, it's like you have 100 trucks, but you really only have 50, you know?
Yeah, but you have 50 truck payments.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's like
So you
you're
lowered
making
that
revenue.
cost, going back to that cost, like you're talking about, you know?
Right. So really, if you're looking into trucking right now, figure out what your advantage is. Maybe it's managing expenses. Maybe you are going to run only teams. Maybe you're going to double down on this Amazon route that you had before or something like that. Like figure out what your advantage is. But if your plan is to, I'm just going to go walk up to the dealership, buy a HotShot, and get on the load board, you're probably not going to last, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I know it's a hard truth. It's a hard reality, but that is the truth.
Yeah, because when you came in, it wasn't back then. It wasn't the strongest market, and then you went through a really good market. Like when I came in, everybody's grandmother blind and one eye could be like $3 a mile. You know what I mean? And that was when I came in, and then it went down for a little bit, and then it went good again, and then it went COVID, and then it went here we are. It went really good right after COVID because we stayed alive and stayed in it, and now we're in this market right now where it's like if you don't have customers and you're not, really good at running partials with hot shots or doing something tricky or wide loads or teams like Alex is talking about, you're getting beat up right now,
Right. And again, and it could come back to that. Maybe you are good at sales. It's
Yeah,
like if you're good
that
at
too.
sales, well, then maybe don't drive the truck. Maybe instead put a driver in it right away and then get
100.
those customers in the door first, right? And then
Yeah.
start offering that. Like, so just, I don't know what your advantage is, the viewer. I don't know what your advantage is, but figure it out and do it. And so my advantage was like maybe with the website stuff or maybe with social media. And so it's like, well, I tried to use that to my advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to make videos. I tried to, get some other streams of income to come in to help fund those slow seasons. But ultimately, that's how I started to get customers as well. Now it wasn't quick enough, and that was the unfortunate part. But still, I was trying to use what advantage I had was social media and getting customers that way, and it could have worked out. But really, it was just honestly, with slower growth, I probably like if I were to grow slower, like much slower.
Yeah, if you were to do it over again, you probably would make. I know we've talked, and you would be like, "Yeah, I'd make these strategic changes, and I'd be fine," and everything because like what to do. All the things to do, and it's like, I tell all my clients and everybody all the time, you got to have some sort of online presence if you're going to have a business. Your business has to have a brand, and you obviously know that you're synonymous with grow. I mean, you grew a huge brand online, and that's something I'd love to talk about. Not just trucking, but and obviously I'm going to ask the question anyway, but obviously, it had something to do with your success. But do you think that you would have been able to have a business like you had or grow to 27 or 30 trucks or whatever, right? Without the online presence at all? You think you could have did that?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I don't think so. Don't be wrong. Like I hired everybody off of my website essentially. Like almost everybody that I hired came from the website that I built, hotshotdrivingjobs.com. And that website's still up. Companies are still posting jobs. So HotShot
put your plug in there. Put your plug in there for that too.
So if you're looking for hotshot jobs or a company lease under or whatever, like go check out the website. It's still up. I see the numbers. It's like we're growing in job postings and applicants. So I'm actually really excited for that. But when I would post jobs on that website, and so I would hire a lot of people from that website. But certainly the recognition of like I could lease under company A or I could lease under Toe Piglet. It was like I'd rather lease under Toe Piglet. Right. So it was definitely one of those things that because of the channel, because of the social media, definitely it was much easier to grow.
Yeah, so you had to have that brand and run it in conjunction with being able to scale your business, your real business. You had to come from somewhere, and that was the best way to do it was social of some sort or online presence. And that's why I say the GOAT, man. The website is another perfect example of that, dude. Because people like, oh, this, non-CDO HotShot or whatever. Dude, look at that. That's another example. The guy builds websites that work and knows how to check the
Right.
analytics and like see how the traffic moves and is it gaining traffic. Like that stuff is not easy, man. So if you think that any of that stuff is easy, it's not. I do the same thing, and it's like to be in 30 spaces, online, actually running a business, actually getting trailers, actually servicing, actually running your business, actually doing all the back end. And I'm sure your wife helps you. My wife helps me. We have a great team and stuff like that. But it's a lot, guys, to try to do it. It's huge. And then running a YouTube channel on top of it, and then coming up with ideas for content. You guys don't even know how freaking hard that is sometimes. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
But we'll kind of, we'll kind of get on to the next thing and then get out of here. I know you got stuff to do, but I think we pretty well answered everything, man. That was we had a good topic, good convo, man. A lot of comments in there talking about some stuff. I think that everything we talked about is that you gave me some crazy ideas with that whole team thing again, or the piggyback in the trucks, man. That's crazy. I would definitely get some of those Tesla trucks and jump into that realm because I think that's where we're headed for sure.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Aaron, thank you so much for having me on, dude.
Hey, thank you for coming on, dude. For real, I really, really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, and it's awesome for you to be able to come on, man. But yeah, throw out any plugs if you want. Man, everybody knows where to find you. He's the GOAT, so he doesn't even really need any introduction. If you needed an introduction, it's Alex Piglet, the freaking King Hotshot guy over here, blew it up. One of the first ones to do it. If he wasn't the first, he's one of the biggest. So, put your plugs in there, man, and let's get out of here, dude.
Yeah, dude, just all the socials, Toe Piglet on everything. I'm not super active on Insta, but certainly the channel or the website.
Yeah, and this will be found on the Trucking No Bullshit podcast, man. You guys can go look it up on Spotify and Apple. There'll be a lot of other places soon. It's just taking forever to get it done. But I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
No problem, dude.
All right, later, bro.
Bye-bye.